Right, OK, welcome to the show. Now, tonight we're going to look at an affliction which affects 51% of the population and try to discover how well understood it is, if at all, by those mercifully unaffected. It affects half the crowned heads of Europe, yet only 17% of those currently trying to represent us in Parliament admit to it. Even 27% of the medical profession suffer from it themselves and admit there is no cure. Whether or not you suffer from it, the chances are that a lot of those around you do. So stay with us and find out what it's really like being a woman. But first, a few words from a gynecologist. Ladies and gentlemen, Hank Wankford. Nice one, Hank. Jealousy. Come and join me, Hank Wankford, ladies and gentlemen. Later on, Kevin Bloody Wilson with an Australian approach to women, Drina Doral, and magic again, this time from a young lady called Fluke. But first of all, welcome to the programme. Hank, is your job being a gynecologist or being a country rock star? I'm not too sure.
No.
Which do you prefer?
Oh, I do both of them.
Yeah?
I do both of them. I do both of them. But I do my doctoring one day a week. On Thursdays. So yesterday, I was a doctor.
You were
Yeah, yesterday I was a doctor. I was yesterday's doc.
Do people find that a little difficult or not?
No, not really.
They don't know when they've seen you on television singing or they've heard some of your music and they come along and... No?
No trouble.
The question we want to ask tonight is, do men understand women? I mean, do we understand them? Are we ever going to understand them?
I don't know. I really have no answer to that. I don't really understand. Because to understand is to be, if you don't want to get too weighty about it. And you can't actually understand without being a woman. You can know about being a woman, you can learn things about being a woman, you can do that. But you and I can't feel premenstrual tension. We cannot have the experience of giving birth. We don't know what that's like.
Premenstrual syndrome, which is the whole thing, as opposed to premenstrual tension, which is one of, what, 150 different sort of symptoms that you can get, is very, very much talked about at the moment. And it used to be something that, I mean, I think I was about 13 or so before I even knew women had periods. Is it better that we should discuss it and talk about it more openly or not?
Oh, yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. But I think it's been, people have been aware of PMS for 15 years that it's been talked about. But only more recently we've got things like premenstrual clinics. They've got PMS clinics. Can
you explain exactly what it is, what we should...
Can I explain? No.
Well, I mean, there's no cure. The psychologists, the gynecologists, and all the medical people don't actually know much about it. They're finding out more, but they seem to know very little.
Well, that's right. I mean, in the sense, it's very difficult to say why one person feels more PMS than another person.
Yeah.
You know, that's difficult. Yes, you can say it's an increase in fluid retention. You get differences because of the hormonal differences at the end of the cycle, but you can't actually explain why different people feel the things that they do.
I've just remind we have a little technical problem, so if anybody wants to ring us, that's can you see that? That's the number, okay? 0532 46 1000. If you have any views on this, the machine that normally does that's not working, so I don't think we need a machine really. We can do that just as easily. Is there? I mean, when women use or don't use PMS or PMT as an excuse for sort of being ratty to men. I mean, if we understood more, would life be a lot easier?
Well, no, it's not an excuse, really. I mean, I think some people take that notion, but it's not an excuse. That, you know, I mean, my old mum said to me years ago, there are no, you know, never make excuses. Excuses are like arseholes. Everybody's got one and they all stink. You know? It's not, so PMS is not an excuse. You know, it exists. It's something. We're never going to have that thing of every month our whole psyche changing, which it does for whatever percentage of women it might be, you know, the 30%, where it's very severe. We don't have that feeling.
OK, we're going to talk some more a little later on, and we're also going to have some more music, but for the moment, hold on. Now, I wonder whether or not the Australians, who are well known for their tact and diplomacy, particularly as far as women are concerned, have a different approach to it. So, a few weeks ago, I met Kevin Bloody Wilson, Australia's premier comedian, and this is what he had to say.
Hey,
Hey, Kevin, listen, it's really nice of you to invite me down to Bondi Beach. It's lovely.
It's everything I said it was, eh?
Yeah, and more.
Oh,
Do you think Australians treat women properly?
I reckon we do. They still turn up to marry us, so we can't be doing everything wrong.
See, I keep hearing these comedians having a go at Aussies, you know, like, what's the Australian for foreplay? Shearing. And
I've just finished a book by an Australian author on that subject, actually. A book called Foreplay and How to Avoid It.
do you think the Australian man is as concerned for the woman as we Brits are?
I believe so, yeah. Yeah, we respect our Sheilas. There's no disputing that. We'll let them feel that they're equal by buying in their turn, like we don't ever let them buy out a shout. They've got to buy when it's their turn. I reckon that's respect.
Do you think she... Yeah, well,
Oh, I reckon she would, yeah. Of course she would. She wouldn't be,
for me, yeah.
Mate, she wouldn't be dressed like that if she wasn't looking for it, would she?
we don't do this in Britain, you know.
What's that, mate?
Well, talk about women as if they're sex objects. We wouldn't get away with that now.
Well, they are sex objects, aren't they, for Christ's sake?
Well, that one might be, but that one over there with the 5 kids certainly isn't.
Mate, you wouldn't root her through a hole in the fence. Have a look at her. She's a mess, isn't she? Oh, look at this.
Fancy going down to the beach with that?
Fancy going down, yeah, that's right.
Premenstrual syndrome. Do you know about that in Australia?
Yeah, they reckon blokes get it too. Should be around when my missus is due, mate.
Right.
It's sort of PMT and TNT all rolled into one.
That bad?
It's worse, mate. A mate of mine died from PMT.
Died?
Yeah, and Mrs. shot him, mate.
Right, with me is Liz Hodgkinson. Liz is a regular contributor to national newspapers, has written 17 books. Best-selling book is called Sex is Not Compulsory. Was that a true representation, do you think, of how a lot of men see women?
Well, it reminded me very much of the French and Saunders sketch, you know, where they're sitting in front of the telly. You know. But I don't know. You see, I think that I think men do find it all very mystifying. It was, you know, as Hank was saying earlier, we may try to understand, or you as men may try to understand, but you're never going to go through it. But I think perhaps the best way that a man can understand PMT is the feeling you get after you haven't slept for 2 or 3 nights. Do you know how ratty and irrational you become? Well, that's the nearest that I can think of.
But what about the new man? The new man, Liz, says that he is concerned about his woman. He's concerned for her, and he likes to go through practically everything she goes through.
Yes.
Do you think it works or not?
Not really. No, I don't think they do go. They can't go through it. I mean, any more than I can really know what it's like to be a man and look, you know, be on a building site and ogle women. I mean, I just can't imagine doing that.
You're accredited to saying, by living alone, we realise that other people do not have the power to bestow or remove happiness.
Yes.
Now, you can't possibly know. I mean, that's just a personal view, isn't it?
Well, what I'm saying is that other people. I mean, if I'm happy or not happy, that's within me. It's not due to anyone else. You know, no one else makes me happy. I make myself happy.
So other people come along and you have relationships with other people, even just meeting me. I mean, does that, you know, that could have an effect on you, could upset you, or it could make you very happy.
Yes, but I mean, I'm happy to meet you, but I'd be equally happy if I didn't. You know?
Oh, I see. So you have no feelings one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy either way.
We're not paying her.
Not enough, anyway.
You live a celibate life. You've decided to become celibate. In fact, although you are married, you have 2 sons.
No, I'm not married now.
Oh,
no.
you were married.
I was at one time.
You have 2 sons in your early 20s.
Yes.
And you decided, whilst you were married, to become celibate.
Yes.
I really don't understand women. That's a, so which is probably why...
I think quite a lot of women who've been married a long time would like to.
Be celibate?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But
yes.
I've always found it's the other way round, that the woman is the one who always is after sex and the man has to think about reasons not to.
Depends what sort of point of a relationship you're talking about. That may be true at the beginning of a relationship, but if you've been with the same boring old bloke for 20 years, I think that's very unlikely.
Is anybody out there, I wonder, who could ring in and tell us whether they've been with the same boring old bloke for 20 years?
Well, it's not boring at first.
No, but after 20 years there's no such thing as sex.
It becomes boring, yeah.
Yes, I see. So, I mean, you're never going to have sex again?
Oh, well, I can't say anything never. I mean, obviously nobody, I can't look into a crystal ball and say definitely that I will or won't, but all I can say is that, you know...
Okay, well, listen, fascinating. We'll come back and we'll talk some more. We have some calls I wanted to go to. I think we're going to take a break first of all, and don't go away, but come back in a couple of minutes. Now, you're sure I can't sort of do anything to...
46 1000, James Whale.
Welcome back to a programme that we've decided to call simply Woman's Hour tonight. With me is Dr. Arik Sigman, who, Arik, you are a consultant psychologist in preventative health, also a supporter of NAPS. Tell me just about NAPS, first of all.
NAPS is the National Association for Premenstrual Syndrome. Now, it is not that I actually suffer from PMS myself, but of course, as a man, and you as a man, we are also affected by people who have PMS. So I'm on here to give a man's perspective of what it's like.
So everybody basically suffers?
Yes, some more than others.
We understand each other a little better.
Indeed.
Now, it seems, reading some of the tabloid newspapers at the moment, that actually women can get away with murder if they say, well, you know, it was the wrong time of the month and I couldn't help myself, I just had to blow him away.
Well, technically yes.
I didn't mean it like that. Yes.
Technically, yes, that there have been a number of court cases. The most recent one's been the two GPs who were in court. One, in fact, slandered the other, saying that he had sexually molested her in the surgery, and in fact, she claimed in court she made those comments because she had PMS. And so it does seem to push women over the brink, that if they actually are at a point where they're irritated anyway, and they have PMS at the same time, it's an unbeatable combination, and if they have murder on their minds, steer clear.
So what do we do about it? I mean, how do we understand and prevent this sort of situation happening to us?
Well, it's awfully difficult. I think a lot of men have been caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. Feminism for the last 20 years has made it politically unacceptable for men to talk about hormones in a particularly strong way. So if you start talking about women's hormones, you get set upon for mentioning female hormones.
Now, listen, talking about hormones, another moans, pheromones. Now, apparently pheromones from men can help women go through menstruation a lot more easily, is that right?
Well, there have been some studies, by women I must add, so that they don't complain that these are male-biased studies, that show that women who are exposed to male pheromones, which are taken from underneath a man's arm, I'm sorry to say...
Are they better than any other place? I mean,
apparently it seems to be the place.
Because you sweat in a lot of places.
That's the place. That is the place. And it does regulate women's menstrual cycles. When they're out of sync, it brings them straight into sync and makes them run at about 29 days each.
Why have we not been more open and more prepared to discuss this before?
I think menstruation is something that involves blood, and men like to spill blood, but they don't like to talk about it. We are somewhat squeamish, and topics like menstruation and women's parts are just not on. And now people are becoming a bit more enlightened about that. They're willing to talk about it.
Do you think women should actually be able to control their hormones a little more? I mean, when we get aggressive, we're in the pub or something, and two men sort of square up because one looked at his girlfriend the wrong way and wants to smack him. I mean, they have to try and control themselves, don't they?
They certainly do. I think that men's hormones could cause lots of rape. It does cause lots of violence. You don't find many female football hooliganisms. On the other hand, when women know that they have very bad PMS, and it's only a very small number of cases, and the family is badly affected, they do have a moral responsibility to do something about it, to seek help. It doesn't mean they have to take hormones or drugs, but to at least look into it.
Okay, let's take a couple of calls before we go any further. Leslie from Cambridge. Hello, Leslie.
Hi, John.
Leslie, your call.
Yes, I'd like to say that through the years, since I was about 16, I've gone for different therapies and different homeopathic plus regular therapies. And it hasn't been until I'm now 31 that I've realised that I have a PMS problem. I'm realising that I'm not necessarily the bad-tempered person as you seem to
food actually,
be relating
I think
to,
if I'm right, Eric, food does contribute, does it, in some way? The sort of things that you eat?
In terms of actually preventing it, now I must add that if she's 31, she might find, like many women, you get into your 30s and it gets a hell of a lot worse. And into your 40s it could even be worse than that. And particularly if you've had kids and you're going into your 30s. So suddenly you could be finding your symptoms get worse. Now,
we're very lucky being men, basically, aren't
we
we?
are very
As I
lucky
say.
in some respects, yeah.
Yeah.
The answer to your question about food is that food isn't thought to necessarily cause it, but certainly eating regularly, particularly starches, complex carbohydrates, will keep your blood sugar levels stable and make your symptoms less severe.
I'm terribly sorry, but you misunderstood my accent. I didn't actually talk about food at all.
What were you talking about then?
I was talking about PMS and how through the years I've discovered that I do have a problem with PMS. What I was talking about wasn't an allergy towards food at all. What I'd like to say is that I don't have children. And I was wondering, I was going to pose the question that perhaps if you get to a certain age, if you haven't had children, that can create problems in itself as making PMS more problematic.
What do you think?
Well, I think the research shows the reverse, that first of all, if you go into your 30s, your PMS could get worse or suddenly appear. Secondly, if you don't have kids, theoretically, it shouldn't be bad as if you do have kids. Many women who have kids find it gets much worse after that.
Okay, Leslie, thank you very much indeed for your call. Irene from Epping. Hello, Irene.
Hello, James.
Yes, Irene, your point,
Hi.
please.
Well, my problem is, I used to suffer from a lot of PMT until they discovered I had 12 fibroids. You know what fibroids are? Mm-hmm. One the size of a grapefruit. To be brief, they gave me in 1980 when I was 32 a total hysterectomy. At that time, they didn't know much about osteoporosis. They didn't put me on HRT. Now I find I'm crippled. I had a fractured spine last year through osteoporosis. I've now been told that because of that, my knees are going and I will need 2 knee replacements within 5 years.
This just really shows that the lack of understanding, perhaps, even by the medical profession.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think hormones have never really been considered something as powerful as they should be, and you can see what happens once you actually have a hysterectomy and the woman's hormone-producing anatomy is removed, suddenly your bones start to crumble and a whole variety of changes happen.
What we must ask a little later on is why, we must ask Hank, why so many men are gynecologists and not so many women?
Good question.
Okay, we're going to do the mail from last week's programme back in a couple of moments. Right. Okay, now, changing the subject completely, as you may expect, we had quite a lot of mail off the back of last week's show about nudity. Only one complaint, though, and a fairly mild one at that, which I take to be an indication of the maturity of our audience. Sadly, John Ellis from Gloucester took the concept of nudity much too far and left the stamp off his postcard. Some other comments too, but I don't think I'll go on with those. David Rixon from Essex used to be a minicab driver in London, he says, and that from his experience, hen party audiences are worse than stag party audiences, and perhaps he'd like to write in again and let us know why he was going to so many hen parties and what he's done with all the frocks too. Tom Bleasdale from Bidford in Devon starts his letter with a neatly honed couplet. Some points for the prudes concerning the nudes. That's rather clever, isn't it, to start off with? Pity about the rest of the letter, but never mind, Tom, try again. Mike from Hatfield says there's nothing more non-titillating than a completely nude figure. The simple naked body, unadorned, is boring. Mike, I'm sure that help is available for this problem, even in your area. And finally, Ted Flower, a pensioner from Watford, sent us a charming letter, which I'm far too modest to read out, but thank you, Ted, very much indeed. And he added a PS, which was rather sweet. He said, my wife and I are both pensioners and would like to receive the late-night entertainment game, providing the rules are easy to follow. Well, as I'm quite sure that both Ted and his wife from now on know the rules, rules. I'm sending them 2 packets of our late-night entertainment, and I hope you'll enjoy playing the game for a lot of years to come. Now, if you would like some more sort of, I don't know what I'm doing. Do you know, you have those times when you actually get to a particular, I don't know why I walked down the stairs. I really shouldn't have walked down the stairs. I was going to stay here, but it doesn't really matter. If you'd like to write to us, I think we can get the address up, can we? No, we can't get the address up. No, that's gone down as well. But write to us at Wales Mail, care of Yorkshire Television, Leeds LS31JS. And if your letter gets read out, then, of course, you get a late-night entertainment pack. I think that's about it, really. Good. Now, considering that this programme tries to move new frontiers of broadcasting history, and we do try to be very topical, we try to bring you the most cultural sort of entertainment, I think tonight is no exception. From her BBC Two show, and very successful it was too, we bring you one of Australia, very Australian themed tonight as well, as you might have noticed, one of Australia's top comedians, and that is Drina Doral.
Thank you, thank you. Tonight, I'd like to start off by talking about one of the greatest inventions that's come about in this millennium, and that, of course, is wings. Hands up, everybody who's got their wings on. Girls, we've got your wings on. Your nice little thick pads with a nice wee sides on the end that you can wrap around your knickers. They're brilliant. And they don't get caught in your pubes unless you're really careful, and you get them all stuck up. Men can wear them too if you want to, guys. If you want to go somewhere you don't want to have to go to the toilet, you just pop them on because they keep you dry all day. Lovely wings, aren't they? You love wings, yes. All go around wearing lots of big, and you can do all the dancing and everything, and they don't move. Wonderful. I'm hysterical. That's because I'm premenopausal, not premenstrual. I don't mean like the girls when you get a little bit hormonal, a little bit snippy, a little bit weepy, a little bit like you want to stab somebody. Usually your boyfriend, because he's saying things to you like, oh, I know what's the matter with you. It's your period. No, I'm actually premenopausal, which means that you go completely insane about your late 30s. You see, it's not really fair. Women actually reach senility and their sexual peak at exactly the same time. It's true. Like guys, what is it, 18, 19? 18, 19, tugging it off about 8 or 9 times a day, isn't it? Have a nice little wank. Actually, I'm sorry I'm getting flustered here because I just love the wild light, men getting their eyes, you know, when they're having a wank, like Shane. I actually pay young boys to come around my place and just wank in front of me because it's very good for your skin, isn't it? You just got that. I was just thinking, I said boyfriend before, and I shouldn't, because it's always assumed that everyone has a boyfriend. I was flicking through my daughter's teenage magazines, and it's all the stuff about where to go with your boyfriend, how to go shopping with your boyfriend, how to cut your boyfriend's toenails, and it had things like, if you haven't got a boyfriend, you know, how to find one. Like, for instance, join evening classes, you know, because you never know who you're going to meet in the I'm so bloody sad I've got nothing else to do in a Thursday night class. You can also find boyfriends by body language. This is, if you want to get a boyfriend by body language, right? First off, you've got to adopt the stance of a startled gazelle caught in the car headlights. This makes you look really stupid. Guys love that because it puts you on an equal basis, straight off. Then, of course, you have to develop lockjaw. Page 3 girls do this, yeah. And guys love it because they just think, hey, a stupid woman with an open mouth. I'm interested. And then, of course, true. And of course, the other thing is develop, lose your spine. Hi. So if you see a guy say, hi, you get these normal, intelligent women. The minute a guy will say, hi, hi. If you think I'm taking the piss out of men, I am, because, well, basically, they're stupid. I mean, it has been scientifically proven that men have 1 intelligence chromosome, women have 2. What do you call that bit of spare, useless flesh attached to the end of a penis? A man. Men take themselves too seriously, and honestly, guys, I don't know how you can when you're walking around with this thing flapping in between your legs. I mean, I feel stupid enough with a tampon string. Not anymore, because I've got wings. Thank you.
Thank you, Drina. I mean, that's taken us right back to about that size, I suppose, really. Hank, first of all, why are so many men gynecologists? I would have thought it would be more of a woman's thing, isn't it? 27% of doctors are female, 30% are gynecologists. Is that right?
Wait a minute, 27%
of doctors are female.
Yeah.
Only 27% of doctors are female.
This is in Britain?
Yeah.
It varies immensely from different countries. It's
Does
different
it?
in the States, it's different. In Russia, or the old Soviet disunion, it was mostly women. Doctors were mostly women. Psychiatrists were 80% women. you would go and have a mother fixation rather than a father fixation with a psychiatrist.
So it's really this country?
Well, it's this country, and but it's throughout all doctors. It was always traditionally men, with the side of doctoring which is control, and that was traditionally men. There are more women gynecologists now than there used to be. Same in Romania, where I've been working. There are more women coming through where there weren't the previous generation.
I was going to ask you about that. I mean, here we are talking about whether or not men understand women as much as they should, and perhaps I mean, other countries have far more important problems than this, don't they, really? I mean, you're working in Romania. Are they even... That's way down the line, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they're just... It's terrible. It's getting slowly better, but there's, after 20 years of Ceausescu and having contraception and abortion completely illegal, it's very difficult to believe in anything anybody says, particularly male gynecologists, which is why we try to involve nurses right from the beginning.
Yeah.
So, because you're going to believe a woman more than a man.
Liz, you heard what Eric had to say earlier. I mean, do you totally disagree with him, or can you agree with some of his points about...
Well, I hate to disappoint you, James, but I really agree with everything he said.
You do? No, I'm quite pleased for you to agree with him.
Yes, I mean, everything that he said about PMS is what I understand, and it's certainly true that although it is a big problem, it's only a very, very small percentage of women who are going to be murderous or suicidal or get to that sort of pitch.
But is it a reason? I mean, is it a reason that can be used in defence to say a woman was premenstrual and that's why she committed a murder and she won't do it again, I'm sure?
Well, she might do if she gets into that state. Well, I think it's obviously a combination of factors, but I think what is hard to understand about premenstrual syndrome or premenstrual tension, when it's so common and you know it happens so often to so many women, that it can actually sort of make you insane in very, very rare cases for that short time.
But how rare is it? I mean, is it as rare as you're saying, Eric? I mean, do you think it's that
when
rare?
it comes to murder, I think.
When it comes to murder, it's very rare.
Obviously, that's rare, but I mean, there are lots of families that break up because of it, people who go through hell every month because of it, people who don't talk about it, and a lot
I don't think they always know what it is, you see.
Precisely,
I mean,
so perhaps it isn't as rare as you're saying. It is a problem.
It is the problem that most people don't realise what it is. And even though it's a small number of cases, certainly the men involved might not have any idea why their wife or partner is behaving that way.
I mean, normally we're blaming the men for not being caring and understanding enough. I mean, really, is it the man's problem?
Well, it becomes a man's problem. I think, again, men can't win. If they, in fact, stick around to be caring, sharing and supportive and follow the guardian's advice of being a new, sensitive man, they end up as cannon fodder and target practice. If they, in fact, do what's best for them, which is to either reason with the woman. If that doesn't work, then simply steer clear. Then, of course, they're accused of abandoning ship, and they're put in a very difficult position.
Is there anything that a man can do to make it easier on him and his partner, or not?
Well, I think that what the couple ought to do together is to work out, you know, if they've got basically a good relationship, is to work out whether the problem is PMS or whether it's something else, or whether it's some incompatibility, or, you know, something that is quite different. It's not always easy to know, but the only way really is to keep a diary and to see whether exactly the same symptoms occur at exactly the same time every month, whatever else has happened.
Okay, we'll come back again in a few moments, but a little more entertainment. This is entertainment with a difference, I think you will agree, and a lady who's just become the British Ladies Magical Champion. Will you welcome Fluke? different, really, when you think about it. Join us again for the final part of the programme in a couple of moments. Right, welcome back. Now, at this point, Spinal Tap had promised to be on the phone live from America to apologise for not managing to appear on the programme tonight after they had let us down rather badly. But unfortunately, they're not even on the end of a telephone, so I will expect Spinal Tap and their management and turn that bloody thing off! Sorry. I will expect their management to be in touch very soon to tell us when they will be appearing on this programme after their promise. Otherwise, I'll put the influence on the record and it will never get anywhere in the charts. I mean, we have a huge audience here of Spinal Tap fans feeling like I do, very let down. Drina said she wouldn't have come on the show had she known. But never mind, I will expect that letter. Now, here are some people from last week's show who did bother to phone us.
Afternoon. I dropped asleep the other night when your show was on. Sorry, but I'm on tablets, you see, doing it and make me drowsy. No offence meant.
Yeah, hello. I've been watching tonight's show and I'm afraid I feel it's very biased. You've obviously made all the adverts all through the week that we don't see a naked man, and you've turned it around. We've seen a sexually very attractive man, and then you put on a woman, showing much more. I mean, a woman's chest is much more sexually exciting than a man's chest, but you won't show us the male genitals.
We want the man on telly to get his kit off. I'd like to talk to James, please, about the morality of male strippers, and I'd like to say that I find it very immature and quite sort of immoral.
I just wanted to say that guy with the grey suit on hasn't got a clue, has he? Which decade and which drawer did you drag him out of?
Hello. I agree with Tom very much, and I'm glad there are people like him. This is a totally immoral show. I, as a 44-year-old married woman, find it disgusting that a 65-year-old male tries to tell me what is right and what is wrong and what I should and should not see on the TV. Hello, James. I'd just like to say, after your programme on nudity, I just felt so good about myself. I found out my boyfriend, and after 6 months, we were finally able to sleep together.
Sorry, but I'm on tablets, you see, doing it.
Call box.
0898 436 1000.
Call box.
Well, swimmingly. I hope she gets better on those tablets. I was a bit worried about that. You can call us, of course, on that number after the show. Now, people who've called us and are on the air tonight, let's take some calls. Joanne from Milton Keynes. Happy 25th anniversary, Milton Keynes. Joanne, hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. I'd like to ask whoever's concerned.
Yeah, well,
what
somebody.
effect the pill has on PMT? Does it make it better, worse, or what? Because I'm on the pill,
Yeah.
and every month I want to smash everyone's face in. Except for yours, love. I think you're very good.
Thank
Watch
you.
the show every week.
Let's find out from Eric, okay?
Well, unfortunately, there isn't a direct answer. Some people say it makes it worse, others say it makes it better. And so in your case, you'll have to deal with your GP and go off of them and see what happens, go back on them, change pill, you'll find out that way.
That's not very helpful from a doctor, Eric. I mean, that is...
I'm glad she's on the end of the phone and not here.
You know, now find yourself a nice lady doctor.
A lady doctor?
A lady doctor. Go along and talk to a lady doctor. Thank you, Joanne. Audrey from London. Hello, Audrey.
Hello.
Hi.
Well, I'd just like to know why, for like the first 2 weeks before your period, you're in like a mega strop and bad mood, and then you crave chocolate like nobody's business. As soon as you hit your period, you crave sex. I mean, it just doesn't make sense, does it, really?
Yeah.
What do you mean, yeah?
Well, because you do. That's when we know the horniest, just as your periods start.
Is it?
It's true, yeah. And that's why guys hate going down on you, because you've got your periods, right? It's true.
Hang on.
It's true.
Is that right, Liz? I mean, Liz is given up sex, so I don't know that she knows.
I don't really know. I mean, according to all the studies that I've read, women are at their horniest during ovulation, which is about the middle of the cycle.
We better sort this out, because if Drina has been under misapprehension for quite some time, can we sort this out?
Well, I mean, it would make sense biologically, wouldn't it? That you you would feel sexiest at the time you're most likely to conceive.
Yeah.
And least sexy at the time you were least likely to conceive.
Talking about the pheromones thing we touched on earlier, Eric, I mean, that means that if you have nothing to do with men at all, you're going to be in a worse situation, aren't you? Unless you've got some guy who'll sweat for you profusely and you can
go to a gym.
Well, that hasn't been my experience, actually, quite honestly. No problems whatever in that direction, no.
None at all.
No.
Okay. Right, well, Audrey, that seems to... does that answer your question or not?
Not really, but
well,
thanks anyway.
there is some, she wants some sense to why she feels differently. What happens the second 2 weeks of your menstrual cycle? You crave chocolate because you have a low blood sugar level, and you go berserk, particularly for sweet foods and chocolate.
Should you eat those or not?
No.
Well, of course
forget those. Yeah.
No, but you can't. There are other foods you can take to keep your blood sugar levels high, which don't cause addictions in the way that chocolate and sugary things do.
Yeah, but chocolate is nicer.
The sugar high is well known, isn't it?
Yes, if you actually eat sugary things, your blood sugar ends up lower than it was before. It sounds strange, but that's what happens. Have bread, pasta, rice, starch, potatoes, and so on, not chocolate. You feel horny during the middle of your cycle, not normally before your period. Why you feel horny before your period, I can't tell you.
Thank you very much indeed, Audrey. Listen, Drina, would you listen?
Yeah, all right.
It's my show. Would you listen to me? Okay. Do you ever get any anti-women reaction from women when they see your show? Do they get upset about your show or not?
No, women usually whoop and cheer girls. I don't know why you weren't, but usually there's a lot of cheering because yes, get those guys, yes, because I hang out at a Muff Massive and there's a whole bunch of us. I can't say what the other one is. But
I think I might have to go and explain to some of them. Go on.
Girly gangs, and I get hordes of girls coming up and saying it's really good to hear a woman getting up and talking about what dickheads men are and saying yes, these are good for the girls. Yeah, of course. But
well, will he ever listen? I mean, Eric here, he specialises in understanding women, and he
specialises in blowjobs. He's just telling me.
Not at all. No, you've got the wrong one.
I told you not to talk to her before the show. I told you it would be.
We were talking about vagina.
Yeah. So, I mean, is there any chance that we're going to understand women or not? Will we
Men
always
understand women? No, they can't because they're stupid. That's It's true, and what I say is actually true. It was scientifically proven that men have one intelligence chromosome, women have two. So that means women are twice as intelligent as men.
Yeah, but men have a bigger brain than women, don't they? That's
it's a question of where it's located. That's a question of where it's located. I think what you're saying is that a man's brain is located elsewhere.
Okay,
no,
Liz.
I'm not saying it's in the penis.
I'll tell you something that is happening now, and that is that ever more men are wanting to become women.
Yeah, I know, all out tree hugging and
no, wanting to... I mean, I don't mean that. I mean, have sex change operations to become women, and even after they retire, men after retirement are becoming little old ladies.
Men get bored with being men and then they want to become women. Is that right, Eric?
Yes, they go back to work again, apparently.
Yes. There's whole hordes of them out there living out in the hills, and they put on women's clothes and bosoms and things.
Those are new men, yes.
Yeah, God love them.
So I don't know about not being able to understand women, but a lot of men, it seems, would like to be women. So, I don't know. I don't think very many women would like to be men.
But they don't really want to become women until after the period stop. I see, that's it, yeah.
Oh, no, well, they can't do that. They can't do that bit.
No, but it is true, James, it is true. Men have never forgiven us for the fact that they found out that women can bleed once a month and not die. And that's the thing. Men have never forgiven us for that. That's the truth, James. There are actually tribes who still do that. Cut their penis once a month to bleed to prove that they can actually do it. It's true. That is actually true.
Just before you go on, I mean, I found something I didn't know anything about, and that was synchronised menstruation. Is that right? Where women actually, if they live together, they begin to...
Yeah.
I mean, is there no medical reason for that or not?
Well, it's been known for a long, long time. I mean, like in communities of nuns and in boarding schools and so on. Yeah, that has been known.
I suppose it can be useful. You can all be in a bad mood at the same time.
At the same time, and you can all share tampons,
well, there's supposed to be a reason for that.
James, what? When you get rid of bits of skin all floating around the house, that's what it is. It mixes, and it's something from in your skin that mixes together. Because I used to think it was only lesbians that got it, but it's not. It's just living with women, and the bits of stuff, all the stuff goes in, and I'm being really eloquent here.
No, there's a logic. There's a logic to it. That if the entire tribe of women are in a bad mood, the men go out and hunt. They don't stick around for a good time. They bring back the food. The middle of the cycle arrives, and of course they can have fun and impregnate the women again. There's a logic to it.
Now you see, we're learning so much on this programme today. That's the intro. We are learning so much. Let's take another call. John from Bedfordshire. Hello, John.
Hello.
Yes, John.
Now, James.
Yes, John.
This premenstrual tension stuff, I've had to live with it for quite a few years.
You sound as if you have, John.
It's definitely getting better.
Yeah.
Now, what we've decided was when she upset me because it was coming round on a regular, and afterwards she was upset that she had upset me. So she felt guilt after being in such a stressful state before, you know, and things, we had a good talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And now, as time has gone on, it's got better.
Right.
It's not perfect.
No.
But what you've got to realise,
Yep.
a woman can't help being in that state. So
No,
what
no.
a man has
Well,
to
that-
do
that's,
is
yeah.
accept it
Yeah.
and get above that.
Well,
He's on
John,
the ball,
I mean,
isn't he?
yes.
on the ball.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed for that, John. I'm just going to go and pop over here and ask the audience, maybe if anybody in the audience has any points they'd like to.
I know the best
to put.
cure for
Would you
premenstrual
shut
tension.
up for one moment? Sorry about that.
He's got it in his left hand right now.
Do you have any problem or not? Are you quite?
Surrounded by two babes, I have no problems.
You're surrounded by two babes?
Yeah, no problems
You're not
here.
thinking of a sex change? Or,
No, not at all.
No,
not at all.
Do you find it, can we get a little light in here? Do you find it embarrassing? You seem to be embarrassed. Do you find it embarrassing to talk about this to your boyfriend or maybe your husband? Or?
Well, I haven't got one, so not
But
really.
if you had one, do you think, is it an embarrassing subject?
No, not really. No.
Do you think men need to learn quite a lot about the female?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do females need to learn more about the man or not?
Yes.
They do?
Mm.
You know, you're a godsend to somebody who wants to do an interview. So I can't be bothered to go on with that. I'm going to go back and sit over here. I mean, I've seen the sort of shit that Kilroy gets into sometimes. Right. Simon from London. Hello, Simon.
Hello, James.
Yes, Simon.
Yeah, look, I'm the chap of the doctor guy who said about the woman who is suffering from PMT who murdered her child.
Yes, Simon.
And it's happened more than once.
Oh, it has happened more than once, but it's not a common occurrence, is it?
No,
I mean, by any means.
But the fact of it was that the woman's charge was reduced from murder to manslaughter.
Yeah.
So this lady's being let off for a murder. And, I mean, it's a medical problem that should be dealt with. I think it's quite a disgrace.
But there is no cure at all. You can't actually legislate for this, can you?
It's very difficult. When you're talking about hormones, you have to say, is this to some extent like temporary insanity? And in diminished responsibility, it's a mitigating circumstance. Rarely is it the sort of thing that people get away with murdering their partners with. I mean, the papers play this up. In reality, it is extremely rare, and most people don't get let off. So don't be worried. You don't need to sleep with the knives put away up in the cupboard.
Okay, thank you all very much indeed. We're almost at the end of the show. If you have anything you'd like to ask, you can always call our phone line, or you could drop us a line. You know the address. We can't put it up for you. James Whale Show, Yorkshire Television. Little problem a friend of mine has. He's trying to make a video with Meatloaf. You've all heard of Meatloaf. Meatloaf apparently has gone missing. This is quite serious. If anybody has seen Meatloaf, he was last seen walking through Soho. I mean, how could you lose Meatloaf? It really is quite silly. I mean, he's big enough not to lose, but apparently he's missing. So if anybody knows him, ask him to get in touch with us here at Yorkshire Television and we'll give him a message. Right, that's it. Next week, the most entertaining programme ever on television. You won't be here next week when I think about it. To finish off tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Hank Wangford!
Without you, life is just a crazy dream. Every breath I take, I'm hoping that you're hoping that I'm hoping you'll return to me. Do you remember, dear, when you said, if I ever stop loving you, you'd rather be